Yes, I'm going to show you how to hit the QUAN. Unfortunately, not the dance move, but the problem-solving method. QUAN is an acronym where the letters represent 4 steps in solving a word problem. Here's how we hit the QUAN. First, we start with Q and identify the question that the problem is asking. Second, we underline the important parts of the word problem that will come in handy. Third, we are going to apply our knowledge and think of any rules or patterns we have learned previously. Lastly, we want to make sure to narrate our thinking and explain our reasoning of how we arrived at our solution. Let's use this method on an example word problem. This problem involves simplifying exponential expressions. Let's start by reading through the whole problem. If a and b are real numbers and n is a positive integer, write a simplified expression for the product a raised to the negative n times b raised to the 0 that contains only positive exponents. After we've read the entire problem, we can start hitting the QUAN. The first step was Q, identify the question. We want to figure out exactly what the problem is asking of us. After scanning the problem, we realize that the problem is asking us to write a simplified expression. So our goal is to simplify the product of exponential expressions so that it only contains positive exponents. So our goal is to write a simplified expression. Step 2 is U. Underline important parts. We want to navigate through any of the possible fluff of the problem and underline words or expressions that will be critical in solving the problem. So if a and b are real numbers and n is a positive integer, that seems important. N is a positive integer. Write a simplified expression for the product a raised to the n to the negative n times b raised to the 0. That'll be important because that is the expression that we will be simplifying. That contains only positive exponents. So that will also be important. We need to make sure our final solution contains only positive exponents. Our third step is A, apply your knowledge. This is where you recall information that is necessary in solving this problem. Looking at the product we are simplifying, we know that a and b are both variables. And the product of the two is evaluated by multiplication. The original problem told us that n was a positive integer, and there is a negative sign in front of it, so that means that negative n is indeed a negative exponent, because if n was a negative integer, then negative n would be positive. We also know the rule that if negative exponents are in the numerator, they get moved down to the denominator and become positive exponents. Looking at the other side of the product, b is being raised to the power of 0. We know that any non-zero number raised to the 0 power is 1. So I think we are ready for our final step. The last step in hitting the QUAN is N, narrate your thinking. It's important to be able to explain your reasoning of how you arrived at your answer, so that others can understand the process you took in solving. Here is what we can say about a to the negative n times b to the 0. To simplify the product, I first simplify each factor being multiplied, starting with a to the negative n, which by a rule equals 1 over a to the positive n, and then the other factor, b to the 0, equals 1. So I have a over 1 over a to the n times 1 surely equals 1 over a to the n. And that's how you hit the QUAN. I hope you enjoyed problem solving as much as I did. Make sure to remember this method when solving other word problems.